cycling the connection, we're going to want to flip the dishwasher on its back. And you can be careful for the vinyl here. And the dishwasher has this insulation. It's a sound blanket for cutting the noise, minimizing noise. I need to vacuum up on my water real quick. And maybe a little better to flip this over outside to minimize the water that gets spilled. That way it's just spilling outside, less cleanup. But got my wet dry vacuum here. Okay, for this dishwasher we're going to need to reuse this adapter right here. So I'm going to disconnect the line here. Just using my old vice grips here. And then we're going to turn out the old adapter so that we can reuse it here. Adapter out. Just gonna undo it here. And be careful for the threads there so you don't damage those. Okay, there's our adapter. There's a tiny bit of water in there that vacuum out since I got my wet dry vacuum here. If this is outside, we wouldn't worry about it, we'd just dump it, but since this is inside. Okay, now for reusing the power supply, if your electrical cord has no breaks in the insulation, nothing frayed, nothing bent, you can reuse your cord. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this one. What you do is just remove the cover here. Good old 6-in-1 comes in handy for different situations where there's not a screw, hex head nut. Remove your old cap. Disconnect your wiring. And you could note where your old wire was hooked up. You can also follow the cord back. The right side is your hot if you're facing the outlet. This one I'm just going to mark the old one and save our wire nuts so we can reuse them. Black is your hot, white is your neutral, green is your ground. So just disconnect all the wiring here. And then removing these wire inserts. This protects it from rubbing on any sharp edges. Remove the nut and pull out your wiring, and there's your cord ready for use on your new machine. And a little nut there. Okay, if you get nothing else out of this video, this is the one part you won't want to miss. If you notice, this is really tough to start to turn. Now imagine once it's already in place and you try to turn this, how tough that's going to be. So before you do anything, once you've got this on its back, pre-start this. You'll be doing yourself a big favor. Once you start this, it just spins easy. So if you undo it the first little spot on all 4 spots, then if you need to adjust it, it'll be a piece of cake. If you don't do this, you're going to have a major struggle on your hand as you try to adjust this thing once it's in place. If you forget, you won't be able to turn this so easy. So again, I'll show you here how I can turn it easily now that I've started with the channel locks. Without that, I'll try to turn it by hand. I just can't do it. And getting a tool underneath here, once this is in place, is really tough. So go ahead and start all 4 of these and release the tension that's there, and you have a much easier time as you go to install your dishwasher. It's probably one of the #1 tips I can give you, so remember that one. We're going to need to remove the front access plate to make hooking up the wiring and the plumbing a lot easier on the new unit here. This one only has 2 screws, this particular setup, but it's got 2 plates behind the 2 screws. This is the bottom cover trim plate. You can see under here that it just seats up into these little feet here. So you just pull it off like so. Save your screws, don't want to lose those. So as said before, we're going to reuse our adapter that allows us to hook up this line to a 3/8 inch line. So here's our new deal here, here's the port here. And we're going to want to wrap this with tape about 4 turns before we seat it in. Easy way to tape is at the back. You want to skip the first 1 or 2 threads, and then just, if you do it at the back of the roll, you can just roll your roll around like so. Nice and easy. And just 3 or 4 turns, break it off. We don't need tape on the other side because we're going to be using a compression fitting. You can put plumber's tape there if you want to. I'm not going to. Go ahead and rotate this part in by hand so that you can ensure that it's not cross-threaded. And then we'll go ahead and turn this in, taking care not to bend the threads on the front part of our adapter. Or any part for that matter, adapter. One more turn around. Now we can hook up our compression fitting. Again, the nice thing about this is it's 5 feet long, so it'll allow us a lot more flexibility. And the other nice thing is that we can put this on before setting the dishwasher up so that we know everything's nice and tight. I usually use my Leatherman for this one. Watch out for all these edges are really sharp, especially right here. This is just unfinished metal, so it'll do a number on you if you let it, so don't let it. And this we're going to tighten down until it's a 1/4 turn past tight. Again, the nice thing about this setup is we're able to connect this and then feed the line through the cutout in the back of the cabinet instead of wrestling with it once it's in place. Okay, we're going to pull our wires through here. They've got them taped on the side because we want it to, our connections to be inside the little box here. And I showed you earlier how we can reuse our old wires here. What you want to do is pass all of your wiring through the hole here, and before you connect anything, go ahead and pass your nut over the top and secure the cord in place. So you got to pass it over all 3 of the wires, feed the wires through the nut. And then turn it into place. Then we're going to tighten that down. The easiest way to do that is just with a flat blade screwdriver, just holding the front part, and then tap it on, like so. Okay. You can also hit it with a hammer. You're putting your screwdriver in there and tighten it on, but that's tight enough anyway. Now we're going to connect our wiring, and we marked our hot, which is right here. Again, you could follow this back to the right side of the cord as long as you're facing the plug and the ground is on the bottom, then the hot would be on the right. If your cord was upside down and the ground was on the top, then your hot would be on the left. But anyway, that's another story. So I'm going to twist these wires together real good, and we're making sure that we're making our connection so it's going to be inside the box. So get these twisted together real good. And a wire connector on. Next is going to be the neutral. I'm going to straighten out the wiring a little bit here. Okay. And then the neutral wire. Again, twisting everything together real good so we get a good solid connection. Pass the wire nut on. Okay. This particular one has a set screw for the ground. Again, not in the easiest place to get to, but that's alright. You can see it on the side here. What we can do is just insert a ground wire around that. Okay. And then tighten our screw down. Again, where the 6-in-1 shows its quality, and that you can either use a screwdriver or a nut driver. And we'll tighten it up and secure the ground in place. And that just kind of crimps the ground wire on against the deal here. Everything's nice and solid there, so the wire is not going to come off. And we've got ground. Okay, next we're going to fold these wires so that they'll fit inside the box nice and neat, like so. And then we've got our box cover. It just inserts into place, like so, and then the screw gets tightened through here. And now we're all wired and ready to run. Now we're ready for flipping it over and setting up the install.